Think about the last time you went to a grocery store. You walked in, picked up a package of meat, paid for it, and left. No planning, no risk, maybe 15 minutes of your life. But for most of human history, getting that same piece of meat meant facing something that weighed thousands of pounds more than you, had weapons built into its face, and had absolutely no plan of becoming your dinner. So, how did they do it? How did a species with no claws, no fangs, and a running speed that would not impress a golden retriever become the deadliest hunting force this planet has ever seen? The answer is not just one method. It is a group of strategies so creative, so ruthless, and so amazingly advanced that modern scientists are still finding new evidence of them today. Let's start with the strangest hunting method ever invented, the one where the weapon does almost nothing. For years, archaeologists found razor-sharp Clovis stone points stuck in mammoth bones across North America and assumed the obvious: hunters threw these spears at the animals. Then, in 2024, researchers at UC Berkeley decided to actually test that idea. And what they found changed everything. Throwing a spear at a 6-ton mammoth does not create nearly enough force to reach a vital organ. The physics simply do not work. So, either ancient hunters were doing something very ineffective for thousands of years, or they were doing something completely different from what everyone believed. They were planting the spear in the ground and stepping back. A 6-ton mammoth charging at even 15 miles per hour creates 67 times more force than the strongest human could make with a throw. By angling the spear into the frozen ground and moving back to safety, hunters let the mammoth's own speed drive the weapon straight into its body. The design of the Clovis point made it even more deadly. Once the tip went into flesh, the specially made mounting system caused the point to act like a modern hollow point bullet, tearing the wound open badly from the inside. The most dangerous animal on the steppe became its own executioner. The hunter never had to get close enough to be touched. Some ancient hunters did not depend on spears at all. Instead, they turned simple stones into deadly weapons. For smaller animals, hunters chose and carried ball-sized throwing stones heavy enough to cause serious injury from 25 meters away. This was not random. Researchers studying stone objects found in the Cave of Hearths in South Africa discovered that prehistoric hunters were carefully choosing rocks of a very specific size and weight. In the same way, for larger animals trapped in narrow valleys, the same idea was used on a bigger scale. A group of hunters would drive an animal into a narrow valley or canyon where there was no easy way out. Other hunters, already waiting on the ledges above, would then push or drop the prepared stones down onto the trapped animal, and it could not escape what was falling from above. The high ground was not just for safety, it was the whole plan. But before we go any further, tell us in the comments which country you are watching this from. Now, let's get into it. Some hunters did not want to be anywhere near the animal at all, so they built something instead. From the air, they look like huge kites drawn across the desert floor. Two long stone walls stretching for hundreds of meters, slowly narrowing into a funnel. From the ground, standing at the wide end, you would not even realize you were inside a trap. The walls were purposely kept low, just high enough to make an animal uneasy, not high enough to look like an obvious barrier. Because the builders understood something most hunters never learn. You do not need to trap an animal completely to control it. You just need to make every other direction a little more uncomfortable than the direction you want it to go. These structures are called desert kites, and in 2022, 3 separate peer-reviewed studies confirmed their purpose at the same time. They were giant traps. The kites guided gazelles and ibex down narrowing paths that ended in huge pits or sudden cliff edges, and where they were placed showed advanced knowledge of animal migration patterns and the landscape. The most amazing thing about desert kites is not their size, it is their independence. Similar structures have been found in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Slovenia, and the Andes. Different cultures on opposite sides of the planet with no contact with each other, coming up with the exact same solution. Not because they copied each other, but because they were all equally smart, and the problem had one best answer. Now, here is where the methods become truly unsettling.
because the next strategy did not use walls or spears at all. It used chemistry.
In January 2026, a study published in Science Advances revealed that 60,000-year-old arrowheads from the Umlatuzana rock shelter in South Africa still contained traces of a plant-based poison, pushing the use of poison arrows tens of thousands of years earlier than scientists had known before. The poison came from a plant called GIF, a bulb-shaped flowering plant whose alkaloids attack the cardiovascular system. Hunters took it out, prepared it without accidentally poisoning themselves, and put it onto arrowheads too small to kill on impact by themselves. That was exactly the point. Stone Age hunters needed to understand delayed cause and effect, shooting an animal, watching it run away looking unharmed, and then following it patiently for hours, knowing that at some point the poison would do its work. That is not instinct. That is chemistry, strategy, and tracking all working together inside one human mind. 60,000 years before writing was invented, the same poison from the same plant was still being used by traditional hunters in southern Africa in the 1700s. The same preparation method, the same strategy, preserved perfectly across 50,000 years of human memory, passed from parent to child across 2,000 generations without ever being written down. But of all the hunting strategies ancient humans created, the one that most completely goes against what we expect is also the simplest. They just never stopped running. The human body is a biological mess as a predator. No claws, embarrassing teeth, skin so thin a house cat can make it bleed, no night vision, no ability to smell prey from far away. Our fastest sprint would not win a race against a chicken, but we can run at a steady pace for an almost unbelievable amount of time, and almost nothing else on Earth can say that. We have up to 5 million sweat glands, more than any other species on the planet. While a wolf overheats after a long chase and a cheetah must rest after 30 seconds of sprinting, the human body just keeps cooling itself and keeps moving. Our Achilles tendons work like biological springs. Our gluteus maximus, the largest muscle in the body, is designed especially for long-distance running, not walking. We breathe completely separately from our stride pattern, something four-legged animals physically cannot do. Anthropologists have directly observed this method, called persistence hunting, among the San Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert. Hunters chase a kudu antelope through midday heat higher than 37.8 degrees Celsius, covering 15 to 25 kilometers at a steady pace. The kudu is faster in a sprint, but it cannot sweat well through its fur. After 2 to 5 hours of pursuit, its core temperature rises to deadly levels. It collapses from hyperthermia, its own body heat killing it from the inside. The hunter walks up to an animal that can no longer stand and delivers a single killing blow. From the kudu's point of view, something is chasing it that simply never stops. No matter how far it runs, that strange upright figure is still coming calmly, steadily, not even breathing hard. There is no evolutionary response to that. Nothing in nature prepared any animal for an enemy that cannot be outrun. And then humans took every one of these methods and made them even stronger by adding the one thing no other predator had ever developed: language, planning, and coordinated strategy across a group. At Schöningen in Germany, 8 perfectly made spears were found alongside the butchered remains of 50 horses. That number is not luck. It is a planned operation by many people, requiring advanced knowledge of where the horses would gather, exact positioning of hunters, and coordinated action without anyone breaking position at the wrong moment. Someone designed that hunt before it happened. Someone gave out roles. Someone explained a plan. And between 15,000 and 35,000 years ago, humans made one final decision that no species had ever made in Earth's history. They looked at another apex predator and decided not to kill it, but to recruit it. Archaeological sites in Jordan, dated to 11,500 years ago, showed dramatic increases in small game remains with evidence of canine digestion. Cave art from Saudi Arabia, dated between 8,000 and 9,000 years ago, shows dogs on leashes, wearing collars, helping with coordinated hunts. The human-dog partnership spread across the globe faster than any earlier human innovation because it made both species more effective than either could ever be alone. Go back to that grocery store. The packaged meat you picked up in 15 minutes with no risk,
represents the endpoint of a 300,000-year chain of innovation. The planted spear that used physics instead of strength. The giant trap that used architecture instead of direct conflict. The poison arrow that used chemistry instead of force. The coordinated group strategy that used language instead of individual ability.
Each of these methods was created by people working with nothing but observation, memory, and the collected knowledge of everyone who came before them. No laboratories, no universities, no written records, just minds sharp enough to look at an impossible problem and find a solution the universe had not thought of yet. The craziest thing about these methods is not how extreme they were, it is how intelligent they were. And yet here we are, every one of us alive today, the direct descendant of someone who figured it out.